NTR.
Look out now!
Hallo, hallo. Goedenavond en welkom bij College Tours. Ze is met stip de grappigste vrouw ter wereld. Stand-up comedian. En voor dat BBC-televisieprogramma interviewde ze de grote der aarde. Donald Trump, Pamela Anderson en Madonna. En daarna schreef ze ook nog mee aan wat ik een van de leukste televisieseries ter wereld vind. Absolutely Fabulous. Maar naast alle roem viel ze ook ten prooi aan depressies. En die bestreed ze niet alleen met medicijnen, maar ze werd op latere leeftijd ook nog student aan de Universiteit van Oxford. Speciaal voor College Tour is ze overgekomen uit Engeland. En ik interviewde hier met 200 studenten aan de Theateracademie in Amsterdam. Ruby Wax!
Okay, now I'm going to kill myself. Okay, here we go. We'll be in the dressing room. Here's the makeup room. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Take a seat. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello. It's a little
Comfortable?
high. It's okay. I'm just shorter than the chair, but it's all right. I'll sit like this.
Yeah, that's fine. We can both do that. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
First question is always, what kind of student were you? And when preparing, I saw that you studied at Denver University?
Yeah, Denver.
The University of California?
Berkeley, yeah.
How many? 3?
Well, no, I went to Denver because I wasn't really available for my SAT scores. I think I was smoking a lot of pot. So early. And then, so I got into Denver, and then I went to Berkeley for a little while, but that I don't remember at all. And I have nightmares that I left all my books in my locker.
And they're still there.
I can't remember the code, and every night I wake up going, what was the code to... Anyway, that's 50 years ago. And so...
The 70s, we're talking about late
I don't know
60s,
when we're talking about because I'm in full denial. But I went to Berkeley, I know that.
What did you use?
What
was the...
It was a haze.
Yeah? The preferred drugs, what did you use?
Oh, I smoked grass.
That's it.
And then when I was a little... Should I say this? It's Holland, screw it, who's going to know? We used to go to Jamaica, my family, when I was a little girl, and I'd always, bring back innocent little hats and things. And one year I brought back ganja. And I wore it in my underpants, and I had a little mini skirt, and I remember walking through customs with an erection. I pushed it that way, and it was... Anyway, I sold it for a lot of money, and that started my success story. That started me on.
Is that right? Because I heard that you also were a big seller of LSD.
Well, I did get the bag full. It was called St. Louis Blue, and that's how I got to Europe. And I never took it, except once at Disneyland. And, so I sold it all the way through Europe, because my parents wouldn't give me any money. And then I came back to England, and my parents supported me, because then I thought, I'll be an actress. I had no talent, but I ran out of mescaline, so I needed to do something. Is this illegal? Am I going to be pulled off the show?
No, you're in the heart of Amsterdam.
But I was good at selling Girl Scout cookies, so I used the same talent.
Did your parents know about this?
No, are you kidding? No. But they wondered how I was going through Europe. Anyway, it's over.
You told your kids they know about this?
No, they do not.
Yeah.
And they never read this book, so
just saying, it's all in the book.
They'd be mortified.
No, they don't know anything?
No.
No.
Now
Okay.
they will.
We have little clips, little interviews of people who know you, or, as in this case, who fooled you. A Dutch woman who knows you well. Let's have a look.
I'm really nervous because I'm having an interview with the best journalist of the world. Well, maybe second.
Hello, Ruby. This is Wendy. Do you remember me? Hello, this is Ushi Hirosaki from Tokyo Broadcasting.
When was the first time you touched your flower?
Ik dacht, Ruby heeft mij gewoon meteen door.
When and how was your first kissing experience?
My first kissing experience?
Yes.
I used to fantasize that I was, kissing people, but it was my pillow. And then we would turn to each other.
With the tongue?
No tongues. I didn't know about tongues. And I would kiss the pillow.
Oh, the kiss.
I'll pretend that I'm kissing.
Dat was natuurlijk heel grappig. Ze kan natuurlijk zelf hele brutale, impertinente vragen stellen. Maar op het moment dat ik die stelde, was het toch echt wel ook geschokt.
Do you want a lick from me first, or you want a lick from her first? Yeah?
Nee.
Yes, we did the licking. We did the licking.
Yeah, you did.
You want to know how many more questions?
Yeah.
Yes. 3, 40, 20. These are extras, so probably 120 questions, but with some extras. I can leave it out.
Ze was zo onwaarschijnlijk complimenteus op het eind, dat zal ik nooit vergeten.
That is unbelievable. Oh my God, that's very good. You know, I almost hate you because you're that talented.
Oh, thank you.
I almost hate you. That's pretty good. That just topped anything I ever did. Yeah, she was amazing. Is she still around? Is she still working?
She is one of the presenters, you know the show as well, of The Voice in the Netherlands.
Oh, really?
You got it on the BBC as well.
She's a genius, this girl. Because I was totally, I couldn't get it. I couldn't understand. I knew she was being funny, but I thought she was Japanese.
Right.
And I didn't know they had a sense of humor.
Okay, questions here.
Hi, Ruby.
Hi.
You've done many interviews with many different people, but you also had your show on Dutch television interviewing Dutch people. My question is, what's the biggest difference in interviewing Dutch people in comparison to other nationalities, if there is a difference?
Yeah, there is a difference because no one in this country is pretentious. No one is arrogant. You know, they just, whoever they are, I've never seen a moment of narcissism. So, that's a miracle. But maybe they know it's Holland and nobody's going to see it. I mean, I don't... No, but, every single person was unbelievable.
When did you find out? You said, I tried to be an actor, but I didn't have the talent. When did you find out that you were funny?
Oh, I knew I was funny, but I didn't have any talent at all. I really didn't. I tried out for Hello Dolly in high school, and there were most of my school got in, 4,000 people, and I was in the audience. I was bad. And then I came to England, and I auditioned for Radha 6 times, doing Juliet, which was hideous. There's a moment in the speech where she threatens to bang out her brains with Tybalt's bone. Alack, alack, is it not that I, with loathsome breath and shrieks like mandrake... That was my audition, and people were like that. So I thought, I didn't know it was a metaphor about Tybalt's bone, so I bought a big turkey leg and hit it on my head. And there was a silence. And I said, are you sure you didn't call my name for a callback? And they went, we're sure. Yeah, we're sure.
So how did you get in?
I didn't get in.
Well, you did go to the Shakespeare Company.
Eventually, I got into the Shakespeare Company, Royal Shakespeare Company, but that was many years later.
Well, what happened? What did you do in the meantime to get good?
I did exercises with my tongue. I went to Glasgow, which wasn't hard to get into. Nobody wanted to go there. It was like an ashtray with stoplights. That's what Glasgow was like. So I did ta-ta-ta-la-la-la-la-la-ta-ta for 3 years. And then I got into the Royal Shakespeare Company because Trevor Nunn really liked what I could do with my tongue. So that was...
Yeah. So that's the best advice to students here. Go to the least popular city. And use your tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's only for
Let
women.
your tongue do the talking. There's a T-shirt.
Questions?
Hi.
How do you stay so on point and original in this world where already everything seems to be done?
Oh, well, that's nice. I have dyslexia, and I feel a little freakish, so I came from left field. And for some reason, at the time, they allowed that to be on television at that time, and now you have to be homogenized, is that the word, and look like the next person, and the show has to be like something. But they let me go wild and do whatever I wanted. And those were the days where you didn't have to be pretty and blonde. So they let me go like a wild rodent and gave me every show, and so I could experiment. But it was just the time. Now I would never, never get a job.
Behind you, there's a lady.
Oh, right. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Isabel. Did you ever get the feeling you crossed the line during an interview with some questions?
No, because I used to be with the interviewee for 3 days. So I gradually got to know them. It was like a love affair. So I would start out really softly, and I learned, not in the beginning, to really throw away my notes and see who they really were. And it was like working out a Rubik's Cube. And then when I started to get them, I didn't ask questions that they were expecting. And so a relationship began, unless they were Donald Trump or somebody else who hated me so much that he threw me out of his plane at 30,000 feet. I hated him, though, too. And they can feel that. Okay. So I used to find what I really like, even if they were a criminal, and then we'd play on that one. Yeah.
Let's have a look at some of those highlights from the interviews. Let's have a look.
Can we just do a waitress thon?
Waitress
Can I just see how you waitress? Because we're here.
Yes.
Yes.
What do you need? What would you like?
I like a Juicy Lucy Rare.
Juicy Lucy Rare.
So now we go.
Juicy Lucy Rare!
That's why I believe you can actually do that without destroying the furniture.
Here we go.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm back here.
It's gonna happen.
All right.
Very expensive hotel. Queen's Gate here. And...
Go. Go.
She didn't do
You're 34D and so am I, and this is how different they can be.
34D.
34D.
34C.
Look at mine. This is what happens after childbirth. I should be your warning. I am the warning on the cigarette packet. Do not have children. Your breasts will leave you and try to run away.
If you are ever going to get a two-shot, you have to shoot it from over there. Yeah, okay, this is the two-shot now, but when you want to get single shots...
He'll move over.
Do not... Excuse me, what's your name? Jean-Pierre. Jean-Pierre, don't shoot me
Don't
from
shoot
over
from there. Go back there.
Okay.
When you fake an orgasm...
I never have.
You've never faked an orgasm?
I have never. I'm not getting out of the bed until he makes me come.
Really?
That's right.
That's amazing.
Yep, that was bad.
What's wrong with Madonna?
There were 6 people around the bed, and I started to get nervous, so I wasn't listening. And every question was an insult, and I didn't know, and she was getting pissed off. And you could see I was like this. So it wasn't what you like to see is a relationship.
Right.
That wasn't. I screwed up, and we gave her Vaseline so she'd look beautiful, and then she picked the wrong camera. So I looked all creamy and like a fetus, and she looked like the surface of the moon. So she picked the wrong camera, so it really started off badly.
Okay, but I saw her a year ago, I think, on the Graham Norton show.
Yeah.
Every interviewer seems to be extremely afraid of her fame. Were you afraid of her?
She intimidated me. I mean, I couldn't read her. When you can't read a person, it's like it's a block. And if you can't read them, I don't know what question to ask. So I started everything was an insult. But I didn't even know it at the time, because when I get scared, I start getting aggressive. I turn into a reptile.
Are you good now?
Yeah, now I don't turn into a reptile anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In a world dominated by men, you took a strong position. For me, it's an example of feminism. How do you see feminism now, 2013?
But the numbers are going up. I think it's 23% are now CEOs. Yeah. And how many percentage in Parliament? It's disgraceful, but that's not my cause. I think there are women that are fighting that one.
Yeah.
Would you like to see Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States?
Of course I would, sure. Not because she's a woman. I don't ever say because she's a woman, because there's some women that are real bitches. But
how do you know she is not?
It doesn't matter, she's smart. You know, I don't care what they do in their private life.
Is that the best combination, a smart bitch?
No, no, it isn't. It's a bad combination. Yeah, that's lethal. Do you think it's going well for us, or what do you think?
I don't know. I feel like we might go a little bit back. Like I feel like if I look at I think that's the most best example, MTV.
Oh, completely, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it goes back, so I don't really
What do
feel
you mean,
like...
the sex
Oh,
systems
yeah,
on
when the
MTV?
girls do that ass shake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep on going
think,
in the same
what is
cycle,
that?
and I feel like it's no,
Yeah.
like...
That's pulling us back.
Yeah.
Definitely, no question.
Yeah.
But you'll always say, even with a hooker, somebody's got to make a living.
True that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Over here.
My question is, when the doctor told you you had a depression, did you accept it right away, or were you in denial for a long time, and did you take a lot of pills?
1, 2, 3. No, I knew something was wrong since I was a kid, but nobody had a name for it. And so they kept having me checked for Epstein-Barr and glandular fever and whatever. Nobody could figure it out. And my mother, you know, they didn't have names for this, who was insane, completely insane. They said she was having a change of life. And I said, yeah, for the last 87 years. So they didn't know what the name was. So finally, when I had my 3rd child, somebody said, you know what, it's clinical depression. And I went, I'm so relieved that it has a name, because otherwise you think I'm a freak. So then you could start applying medication.
Yes.
And I've been on it ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
What?
You're still on medication?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Listen, depression is the real McCoy. This isn't your imagination. It's like saying to a diabetic, get off the insulin. It's actually quite insulting when people say, oh, come on, perk up. Perk up.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think of that.
I know that, yeah.
It's the real thing.
Yeah.
It's not because you're sad, but now they throw pills at you.
Yeah.
If you say, oh, I had a bad hair day. So it's not good PR for people who have the real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Have you experienced the same?
Yes, yes. And I always said to people who are depressed from, keep your head up high and be normal, till I got it myself.
Yeah.
And then I really went down and couldn't cope with myself. So,
yeah, so now you know.
Yeah.
So the 1 in 4 of us who have it can spot each other through a crowded room. It's such a relief, isn't it? Because we know, you know, that we've been in a, you know, it doesn't feel like anything.
No.
It's like you're a piece of cement.
Yeah.
So we know.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
What's the blip on the radar? How could you recognize somebody here?
I can't recognize when he's well, like I'm well.
Yeah.
But if we were sick, there's no question the eyes... I once went shark diving. It's the look of a dead shark.
Yeah.
Now, everybody should be taught. Look in their eyes.
Yeah.
You can see it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Questions?
Hi, I'm Tessa. I think you're a great comedian, but what's the worst joke you've ever made?
Oh, I never told a joke, and I can't remember a joke. Because I think jokes are the lowest form of comedy. I really do.
What is the difference between a joke and stand-up comedy, where somebody is telling
I don't
a
like
lot of-
stand-up comedy. No, to me it's a cry for help. It's love me,
Yeah.
please.
We are full of clubs in Amsterdam, stand-up comedians. They are watching this now.
I'm
and I think,
sorry. Like Hans Theeuwen, you could call him a stand-up comedian, but that's performance art. That's not stand-up. That's totally original. And you don't know what to expect any minute. If a stand-up starts talking, I know what's coming next.
We have a clip of some guys who are doing hard comedy, but I'm wondering now, after you told me this, if you even like it. Let's have a look.
I'm afraid of gay people. Petrified. I have nightmares about gay people. I have this nightmare that I go to Hollywood and find out that Mr. T is a faggot. And he be walking up to people going, "Hey, boy. Hey, boy. You look mighty cute in them jeans."
Sarah Palin's got 5 children. One is off to fight in Iraq, so if you're watching the repeat of this, Sarah Palin's got 4 children.
But I got asked to do a benefit gig recently for sufferers of obesity. What? She went, sufferers of obesity. I went, you mean fat people? She went, no, because obesity is... Well, she actually went, no, because obesity... She was eating, of course.
Ik weet nog een keer, toen ging ik zo'n beetje zo met mijn pik langs dat gezicht zo, weet je wel. Hij zei de hele tijd zo... ik zeg, rustig, majesteit. Doe jij eens rustig. Nou, uiteindelijk toen spoot ik in dat gezicht. En dat is heel gek. Dat is net alsof je tegen een hele grote riksdaal eraan spuit. Ja.
That's hilarious.
Is everything allowed? Are there any taboos, or can you just do anything?
If it's funny, everything's forgiven. you know, everything's forgiven if you're laughing. Once they cross it, you're not going to laugh. Like the human being understands where you cross the line.
Over here.
What is the best interview you've ever done?
Well, Imelda Marcos. You know, I had 10 minutes with her.
Shall we show it before you talk about it?
Okay.
Let's have a clip. Yeah. Imelda Marcos, the former First Lady of the Philippines.
You never come again.
Oh no, Imelda, look at this. Fabulous bathroom, and I'm glad it's clean. Look at this. So we get in the jacuzzi. We always end in that jacuzzi. This is fantastic. Just from here. You know how we waited? Here we are. Okay, just from here. Just the beginning of the treasure trove.
I had found the Holy Grail, the shoes. And many there were. And these were just the beginnings of the new horde.
I know, but they're still, look, they're in couples. You know, you haven't got them all mixed up. Close. Wow.
Yeah,
when I saw this the first time, I couldn't believe that you got the access that you got.
Well, it started off 10 minutes, but then I started to kind of look at what I was looking at, and I realized it was a child of 8 who I would go, oh, that's good. Can you show me yourself? And, of course, she was a child of 8, so but also a little bit of a sociopath. Mm-hmm. So I started playing around with that, and then she let me stay 3 days. And then by accident, she found Hello magazine in her garbage can. I'll never understand that unless somebody's tricking me. And I was on the front, because she thought I was just an interview. She'd go, oh, she on cover of Hello magazine. From that moment, she'd take my hand and she took me into Parliament, threw her children aside and go, she on Hello magazine. She introduced me to the she on Hello magazine. Because she's a star fucker. Can you say that?
Really? Yeah.
Can you say that?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
That's what she is.
This is actually...
she loves celebrity.
The only thing you say, I would be disappointed.
Okay. No, I don't really...
Curse?
But, yeah, I don't. But that's what she is. And so once she knew I wasn't just an interviewer, and I got jewels. I borrowed them, so they were more expensive than hers. So I was confusing her, too. And then the fact she showed me the treasure trove, and we became kind of friends. She gave me the jacket that she wore when she was airlifted out of the Philippines. It said Imelda on the back. So I can sell that for a lot of money. But I did love her. You know what I mean? When you do start to connect, you can see a relationship.
Yeah.
I had to forget that she stole, 17 billion. I put that aside. It's not my job to make judgment. But I saw the girl who wanted to be the showgirl.
And who wanted to show the candy to you.
Yeah, and also said she innocently didn't know that when she was cleaning the walls, she found gold bars behind the paint. And I just went along with it.
Over there.
Hello. With what do you stand up in the morning and say to yourself? Do you stand before the mirror and say something, or what keeps you strong?
Well, that's a long answer, because that has to do with what happened after I stopped doing interviews.
Shall we first, for the people who don't know that episode in your life, we have a little film lined up in which we can explain a little bit, and then you go on and give an answer to this question. Let's have a look.
Before I start, I would like to thank the makers of lamotrigine, sertraline, and reboxetine. Because without those two simple chemicals, I would not be vertical today.
Ik heb begrepen dat zij meedeed aan een liefdadigheidsactie. En dat zij met haar hoofd op een poster werd afgedrukt zonder dat ze dat zelf van tevoren wist. En dat ineens overal in de stad die posters hingen met de tekst erop: deze vrouw heeft een psychiatrische stoornis.
I thought it would be a tiny little picture, and then I went into the tube station, and it was gigantic.
Toen was the word was out, als het ware.
Ik denk dat er een enorme breuk in haar leven is opgetreden op het moment dat die depressie haar het gesticht in wierp.
God, when I was here, I was so not in this condition. You know, you kind of be like this.
En daar kwam ook het moment dat ze zich realiseerde: ik kan blijven werken tot ik een ons weeg. Ik kan proberen de rijkste, beroemdste, weet ik veel wat te worden. Maar dat neemt niet weg dat ik moet dealen met een basale emotie die daar helemaal los van staat.
You know, the one thing that you get with this disease, this one comes with the package, is you get a real sense of shame. Because your friends go, oh, come on, show me the lumps, show me the x-rays. And of course, you got nothing to show.
Dat stigma, dat drukt heel zwaar op psychiatrische patiënten. Als je dat stigma enigszins kan verminderen, zou dat natuurlijk fantastisch zijn.
Ruby dacht, ik ga met mijn ziekte wat doen. Dus die ging studeren bij Mark Williams. En heeft zich echt eigen gemaakt wat het gedachtegoed achter de mindfulness is. En mindfulness is een ongelooflijk belangrijke therapeutische techniek die er de laatste jaren bij is gekomen. En eigenlijk legt Ruby ons uit hoe het werkt, waarom het werkt en hoe het ook voor haar heeft gewerkt.
Ik vind dit boek van Ruby Wax zo hilarisch. Dat is voor iedere depressieve patiënt een aanwinst. Het is sowieso al therapeutisch om een paar keer van het lachen van je stoel te vallen.
I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but somebody has to be. Your pets are happier than you are.
This is the book you wrote about your condition, Sane New World.
No,
Great world.
It isn't about depression. No, Sane New World is because when I did my show, the old show, the audience used to ask questions, but it turned out it wasn't just the 1 in 4 who have a mental illness. The 4 in 4 started asking the same questions. Like, why the critical voices, you know, the ones that, like, you gotta, you didn't, you should have. And, you know, nobody has an inside voice that I've ever met that says, what a wonderful thing you've done today. And may I say how attractive you are. And the obsession with, you know, even if you don't have anything to do, like, you gotta be busy, because if people find out you're not, you're like a pariah. Mm. So I really was interested. So the book is for the 4 in 4. Yeah, because we aren't built for the 21st century. I'm not bitching about it, I'm just saying how to deal within it. So that was for everybody.
Now his question. So he asks you, the student, when you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror.
I don't look in the mirror.
That's okay.
That's one. I don't look down when I'm in the shower.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Look, I wanted to find something so that I could cool my mind down because I started getting longer and longer depressions. They used to be every 5 years and it got quicker and quicker.
What happens in your head when you...
Nothing. Nothing happens. You're gone.
When you are depressed?
You're not thinking anything. You're just a slab that sits in a chair and you can't lift your hand. So I hunted down Mark Williams because in the brain research it shows that the best ways of, it prevents relapse, but also for OCD, for everything, for burnout, for stress. The best results were cognitive therapy and mindfulness. So I thought, well, I gotta pick one, because I studied the psychology when I was young.
And he is Mark Williams.
Mark Williams is the founder of mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which is the new zeitgeist. So he worked at Oxford, and I found him, and he said he did an 8-week course just with me for free. Can you imagine?
Unbelievable.
I'm Jewish. That's really a big deal. So,
Dutch are big on that as well.
Boy, free is the magic word. So then I said, well, I'm really interested in how it affects the brain, because I'm not fluffy. You know what I mean? I don't do these weekends for finding your inner elf. I ain't into that. So he said, oh, well, sadly, if you want to learn about what it does in the brain, you'd have to get into Oxford. And he thought that was the end of it. So I'm like a Rottweiler. When I get a mission, I found some of my grades that were okay, and I threw away the other ones. And then, because I give great interview, I got into Oxford. So I just graduated 2 weeks ago.
Great.
Yeah. That was the most exciting day of my life. And then, and so I have to do, just for me it works. For somebody else it'll be go to a church, somebody else go swimming, somebody else do Tai Chi. But for me, I need to get my cortisol down, which is a good drug and a bad drug. If you switch it on too long, it's gonna burn your system. So, like before this show, I can't come too hyped. I'll tip over, not on the show, but later I'm too fueled up. And there's just red mist, I can't think, so I gotta get it down.
So you, before we started, you were sitting in a little room?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
There's a bit of your brain that's always on high alarm. I mean, it used to just be on high alarm when you'd meet a predator hundreds of thousands of years ago, and then when you'd kill him, or it would kill you, or you'd be lunch, or you'd have lunch, that thing would go down. It's like an alarm button. It would go down, and we were well adjusted. Nobody had OCD.
Of course, we didn't have our full use of thumb, but that's a byproduct. So now, because we're so alarmed by, you know, we have to know everything in the world. What's 20,000? Why do I have to know if there's a 3.6 earthquake in Dong Fong Dong? Why do we need to know? We're supposed to know what our neighbors are doing. That's it. You know when you feel a stomach ache or you feel your feet on the ground and you go, or you feel yourself breathe, not think, but just feel it? When you do that, really just even feeling your feet on the ground, or you're behind on the chair, as soon as you send the attention that way, the amygdala automatically goes down. So it's called the insula. If that's up, active, the amygdala goes down. So it's like a car that can't be in 2 gears at once, you know, and it'll work. So actually, it's not a big guru thing sitting on the mountain. It's you're playing with your chemicals. Right. You're playing with them. And that's what's coming in the future, that you self-regulate and you don't need to run to a shrink. You know, if you go in your body for even a minute, then when you go back to work, which we need speed, you'll go in much better because you've cleared the deck.
Which is the hardest thing to do.
Hardest thing to do. But we know how to physically make ourselves stronger. They say by 2020, it's going to be how you think that's going to kill everybody.
And not the muscle.
It's not that you can jog as much as you want. It's going to be stress. That'll kill everybody.
Yeah. Now, everybody here has their cell phones switched off, but naturally we're all constantly connected. And
that's fair too.
Well,
like the world is going on without you. Well, it is.
Let's have a look, because we have this little clip of the information overload, and I would like to ask you, how does that affect your mood?
It's called information overload, a theory that has recently been developed to address the intake of too much data due to the widespread use of digital devices, massive amounts of new information, and the ability to transmit this information so quickly. What's truly fascinating is that Americans spend half of their year consuming information. The average person consumes information for 12 hours a day, taking in 100,000 words a day, which is 201 letter-sized pages of text, single-spaced. The scariest part is that when only read, we remember 10% of this information. We need to learn how to limit ourselves. We need to turn off our cell phones, our laptops, our iPods, even if it's just for an hour. I think we need to unplug.
Oh, good. That's good. Yeah.
I was wondering if you have depression in your DNA and you're constantly busy with... in your genes and constantly doing what everybody is doing nowadays, watching Twitter, Facebook, all of that. Does it increase the level of anxiety, and do you get...
In everybody. Depression comes even if you're winning an Oscar. It has nothing to do with success. Let's put that aside. You can have depression if it's sunny outside, or I had it when I had my 3rd child. You should be happy. I got sick because I always had it. So it's got... Everybody's suffering from overload. If you have depression, of course you're suffering, but it's still a disease. It doesn't give more people depression. Depression is in the genes and upbringing. So if you don't have the genes, your parents can be maniacs, and you're going to get away with it.
Upbringing. We're going to talk about that as well, but first, this gentleman here.
Ms. Wax, I've had a depression once, and personally one of my biggest fears is that it might return one day. I've had therapy and I've tried mindfulness as well, but it still feels like I'm on this slippery slope and it can happen any time. How do you cope with that fear?
Do you have the same?
No, I don't have the fear. I know it's going to come. But actually, if you only have one episode, you might never have one again.
Okay,
it's when you have 3 or 4. But it's like saying, I'm scared of a meteorite dropping. Eventually, with the mindfulness thing, you get the idea. Pain is pain, but suffering is optional. So, you can feel something, but if you're adding another arrow into it, it's you that's piling it on. Now, you don't have to punish yourself, but just notice it. And then you we all do that. We go, God, I'm so nervous being on this show. I'm an idiot for feeling nervous for being on the show. I'm an idiot because... And so we keep it up. So with stuff where you go into your body, fear is going to be there. We're all on alarm, but it's just, you don't give yourself a hard time for it. When did you have the one?
It ended 6 months ago, and it lasted a year and a half.
A year and a half?
Yeah.
Did you take medication right away?
Yes, I did.
You might not have it again.
Okay, well, let's hope so.
Yeah.
But
thank you.
if you do, medication's a wonderful thing.
Well, it didn't work for me, but...
Yeah, but there's 2,000 different types of medication.
Maybe I should try another pills.
So keep trying.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Over there.
You talk about your depression like it's very biological and that it's in your DNA. Do you consider it to be, in some extent, also related to your personality or your past or something else?
Clearly, I have it in my genes. And then I was born into maniacs who didn't know that nobody knew they had mental illness. So put those two together and you've got dynamite.
Can you fill us in about your parents who were living in
Oh my
Austria?
God.
Here they are.
Oh my God.
What?
Well, no, because, you know, they were normal then, maybe. But
This is before the war started?
yeah,
And then they left Austria in '39?
yeah.
And they were lucky. They were the last ones to get out.
They were the last to leave the building, yeah.
Did your father, that's amazing to me, he left Austria on skis?
Oh, no, he tried to ski into Switzerland at one point, but so did a lot of other people. So there was a big pileup on the mountain.
Of Jewish people with
Jewish people in skis, they can't ski. So they caught them all and they put it, you know, they put it in his passport, but then he snuck into the Mexican embassy. And while it was like, you know, everybody had to think fast. He took a stamp and stamped that out. And then he scuttled, you know, like a rat through Europe to get out. It was really like a pinball game.
And what about his wife, your mom?
My mom looked like a German.
Yeah.
So she got on the train and the Nazis stood up to let her sleep. That's the Aryan dream. So her looks got her through.
And then, I mean, you say this family was terrible.
Maniacs. Yeah,
Maniacs.
they took the war and they created it in our kitchen. And they played kind of volleyball with my brain. And
how? What happened?
Oh, I mean, they were like Scud missiles. They would undermine me all the time. My mother would keep saying I was an idiot. And my father would say, look at you, you're as big as a house. Who's going to marry you? But, you know, my mother was a maniac. You know, she was always cleaning. Of course, nobody knew that, on all fours, like a pool cleaner. And then her voice was like, who brings filth into a building? You know, so that was like her normal voice. That was her saying, have a nice day. So this is a woman who would chase a dust ball for maybe 2 weeks to get that sucker. And, but nobody knew it was depression.
Did you bring friends in the house?
In the beginning, but then you'd see these scenes, you know, of mania. So, you know, I was popular, but I turned it into comedy. And so people invited me over because I could turn that wildness into some of the great monologues. If I didn't have I always say with my background, I would have been a comedian or a serial killer. Seriously, I would have been. But I had this way of making it funny. And so it was like getting rid of the devil.
Did they ever say anything nice to you or give you a compliment?
They were real proud of me behind my back. My dad would show articles. But then, when I was in the Royal Shakespeare Company, he'd go, what's with you? Your teeth were so shiny. Now, I mean, it's genius. Once I got in a TV show, he said, I called NBC, like the desk. They never heard of you. Oh, that's depression at 16. There's what it looks like, but nobody knew. Look at that.
Many kids who have some kind of upbringing like you have are waiting for the compliment of, in the end, of the parents. Hopefully, in the end, they will say something that is very positive.
That's too late, though.
But have you been trying to get anything positive out of your parents, or did you know this
I
is
was
a lost
trying
case?
to be successful so they'd be proud.
Right.
You know, I'm sure that drove me. In the end, just before my dad died, he said, I love you, and then died. It's at the end of my...
These are his last words?
Yeah, and he was in a coma, and it was Valentine's Day. He'd been in a coma for 5 years. And just before he died, he was flatlined. He said, I love you, and then died. I couldn't make that up. You could not make that up. So, and you know, the war is won. So, you know, I feel like it was a battle, and it did damage. You know, I did get depression. But they also gave me see, you get filled with this chemical, I could tell you which one, that gives you that drive. And it got me where I am. But it's exactly the same chemical that can burn your system out.
I'm still thinking about this last line of your dad. Was it good enough to repair all the damages they had done before?
No, but but eventually you do work. You have to work on it. I eventually, my system would go down when I think of them. When I think of them, now I feel pity that nobody said. Oh, in the very end, they took my dad was already, he was in a coma. They took my mother. I said, no, we're going because of Daddy. She'd go, what's wrong with me? You're the maniac. That's where it gets bad, when women in the audience used to say, did I pass this to my kid? I say, if you're sensitive enough to ask me that, you didn't. So my mother would always say, I was a maniac. So we were trying to get her controlled because she was setting the building on fire and writing checks for $10,000 to the window cleaner. So they took her to the psychiatrist, and psychiatrist said, Mrs. Wax, it's not here for you. We just want to get your husband cleared out. He said, could you just tell me how old you are? And she was smoking her pen because she forgot she smoked cigarettes. She went, I may be off by a few years, 53. And so the doctor said, your mother is an inaccurate historian. So this is what they gave us Prozac or whatever, and they mashed it into her food. And when I went to visit again 5 years later, she was the most popular woman in that thing. She was adorable. And I think if they had done that 80 years earlier, what would happen here? She was adorable. So there's a tragedy.
Next one.
Oh, hi, my name is Elmer. You told us about your mother's situation, and of course we talked about your situation. And you told us about how it's in your genes. Are you afraid that your kids might have it as well? Or, and do you think that with your studies you can maybe help them in a way, in that case?
I wish I knew then what I know now. Though 2 of them have not got it. If you can get to about in your 20s and you haven't got depression, later than your 20s, you're going to get away with it. You'll get trauma or you'll get herpes, but with depression now, well, this is actually what happens now, is I think 20 years ago, only people in their 60s had depression, but they couldn't see it was episodic because they died. So now I think every generation, it goes down 10 years, so now you can tell at 13. One kid does, I saw his eyes at about 24, and even I missed it. I thought, oh, he's in a bad mood, because everybody wants to pretend it's not happening, and then I finally went, get on that medication. Now he may just be the one that never has it again. The 2 girls, I almost think they're retarded. They're so happy. They're happier than I've ever dreamt of. It's prom night every night. And one of them was in my stomach when I had the real crash. So go figure that. They've got away with it. I don't think one person in my gene bank to the apes ever was as happy as my children. But I think I married my husband on purpose because A, he had length, and B, he came from that gene where the family were always, they were in the trenches and they had a bloody lovely time. Loved the trenches, sang songs, everything's lovely cups of tea, the world's crumbling, and they're real positive.
So that must be unbearable to live in that family for you.
No, I married him because of that family.
Because of that, yeah.
To change the genes.
I was just wondering, because so many kids get now, because they're really hyperactive, Ritalin. Do you think that that's a good thing, that so many kids are down in their energy because of this medicine?
I think there's a new way, because, again, you can see this in brain research, of dealing with ADHD, but it's, it's coming, is where the kid who's got ADHD, it's very like kind of mindfulness, they play a video game. And they win the lower they got their cortisol, meaning they start to understand when they're there at that, you know when you're calm, when you're cool, you know when there's red mist and you're not thinking. So the kids learn to adjust their levels. Now that does the same thing as Ritalin, except you'll live longer. So they will be like mindfulness or CBT. You're going to start to learn how to lower that thing. Because once you understand it in your body, you just have to know what state you're in. Like I can actually say, I'm screwed. Yesterday, screwed, gone, I didn't even want to look in. But then you make sure you don't go to a party
or you start to shut down and cancel everything. Whereas before, with depression, you start getting more and more active because you want to show everybody that you're fine. There's 1,000 dinner parties I can go to and I'm fine. And the more you, because there's such shame in having it. So you work harder, you drink harder, you play hard. It's all out of the shame. No other disease has shame on top of it. So I think Ritalin is going to be replaced by these video games. They teach kids that they win when they're cool.
I thought you said graduation day was the best day of your life.
Yeah.
Can you explain why?
Well, for a girl who got 4.75 in her SATs, which means you have the intelligence of a houseplant, to graduate Oxford, I mean, even I got high on that one, which usually I give myself no credit. That was just, that was an explosion. But being a depressive, I let it go. I had a low 3 days later because I wasn't being mindful. I just let the whole thing, you know, it's like, it was too exciting. And I should have watched it a little bit. Then 3 days later, right down.
So that's strange, even for you, who is a student of mindfulness, it's difficult to control the whole process.
Yeah, you don't always, you know. You still want to kill people, you still shout. But it actually comes down quicker, because that could have thrown me into a depression. And for 7 years, I've been able to dodge the bullets. I knew I was in trouble and told people I'm really sick now.
Over here.
I'm Victor.
Hi, Victor.
And I wrote my question in a poem. How do you want to be remembered when finally your soul is tempered? When rest and peace fall unto thee, then what will be or not to be? If when there's nothing left to see, and we cry rivers into seas, 'cause the mist of autumn trees and the humming summer bees, your spirit lives so magically. Salt of earth, be born in thee. But if death takes you ruthlessly, and when your soul is finally tempered, how do you want to be remembered?
Wow, that's a great point. Why do you think about death?
About death?
Yeah.
I think when you have to think about life, you should think about death, because it's both.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's a reminder how every second is something. Excuse me. Do you mind me asking? Do you have depression?
I don't know.
Yeah. Because you seem, and this is a compliment, there's a real dark side. Because otherwise you couldn't write that poem. Yeah. You're wonderful. Want to meet me after the show?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a question in the poem.
Yeah. Well, I say at the end of one of the shows, if you can finally deal with the fact that the world will be okay without you, then you're wise. Really, in the real thing, I won't be remembered. And that's the way it is. So you want my ego to say, yes, what a wonderful individual she was. You could say, boy, did she come far for having, you know, being a ugly little girl from Evanston. But I don't need to be remembered for that. No, everybody goes to dust. And boy, when you look at evolution, what a tiny split second this is. It's nothing.
Why is that a question that dominates many people's mind? How will I be remembered? Because it's such a useless thing to ask yourself. who cares?
Well, I think that's why it's such a digital thing. We all want to be special, and we want to be noticed. And now, with Twitter and things, you can get followers, and you can give yourself the illusion that you have friends, or that people care. But you know they don't. There's one or two people that really, their hearts are yours, but they'll die too. But the illusion that we have so many friends can really keep your juices going for a long time. But I'm a realist. I know what happens. And that's that. I'm sorry to depress you more.
Over here.
You've been in the business for so long. What is your relationship with being in the spotlight? Do you think you could live without it, or you want to live without it?
Well, I've been out of it. I stopped doing those shows because there's a minute you lose your mojo where you're not that curious. Like, that was just pure curiosity, you know, and playing with them. And then you lose it. So I said, I got to quickly do something else. So I studied to be a therapist. And I can drop things real fast. I think it's from being an immigrant, because we're used to scuttling out of countries quick, you know, with pianos on our backs, and then setting up a new life. So I can go fast. So I was studied to be that, and let go of that limelight. You get on the tube, you know, and the guy says, you don't have a ticket, and you want to go, you know who I am? And now they go, screw you, pay for the ticket. So it's like getting off a junk, you know, getting off a Coke.
It is an addiction. It's hard to get rid of.
I think it is. It was really hard to stop doing TV. It's a killer. And but the tragedy is when people hold on, you know, and they'll say, I used to say, you want to do a documentary about my gallbladder operation? You know, or they go on those shows where they have to eat cockroaches. Big Brother is the end of the line. You know, that's when you might as well take a knife and carve out your stomach.
The last question always of this show is, what is the best advice you can give the students here and the people watching this show at home?
Oh, God. Well, stay curious and realize that everybody's nexting. You know, you're not static. Because the minute we think, this is it, this is how I am, you're going to face a disaster. So everything changes every second, and if you try to hold on, you'll go mad. That's what drives you totally insane, is that you try to stop time. And that's the scariest thing you can do. So there you go.
Ruby Wax.
Why my place?
Before we let you go, and I'm really pleased to say this, our next guest and last guest on this show is somebody you know as well. Everybody knows her, since we have been talking here about the position of women and education, how important that is. The next guest is Malala.
He asked, who is Malala? He did not give me time to answer his question. And my friend told me, my best friend Muniba, that at that time you just squeezed my hand, you just pushed it with force, and you did not say anything. And then in the next few seconds, he fired 3 bullets.
She's more interesting than I am. Thank you for having her.
2 strong women in 2 weeks on College Tour. We're very happy that you were here. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Dank jullie wel voor de vragen. Tot ziens.
It's okay, I'm just shorter than the chair, but it's all right. I'll sit like this.
Yeah, that's fine. We can both do that. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
First question is always, what kind of student were you? And when preparing, I saw that you studied at Denver University?
Yeah, Denver.
The University of California?
Berkeley, yeah.
How many? 3?
Well, no, I went to Denver because I wasn't really available for my SAT scores. I think I was smoking a lot of pot. So early, and then so I got into Denver, and then I went to Berkeley for a little while, but that I don't remember at all. And I have nightmares that I left all my books in my locker.
And they're still there.
I can't remember the code, and every night I wake up going, what was the code to... Anyway, that's 50 years ago. And so...
The 70s, we're talking about late 60s.
I don't know when we're talking about because I'm in full denial. But I went to Berkeley, I know that.
What did
but
you
it
use?
Was a
What
haze.
was
It was a haze.
Yeah? The preferred drugs, what did you use?
Oh, I smoked grass.
That's it.
And then when I was a little... Should I say this? It's Holland, screw it, who's going to know? We used to go to Jamaica, my family, when I was a little girl, and I'd always, bring back innocent little hats and things. And one year I brought back ganja. And I wore it in my underpants, and I had a little miniskirt, and I remember walking through customs with an erection. I pushed it that way, and it was... Anyway, I sold it for a lot of money, and that started my success story. That started me out.
Is that right? Because I heard that you also were a big seller of LSD.
Well, I did get the bag full. It was called St. Louis Blue, and that's how I got to Europe. And I never took it, except once at Disneyland. And so I sold it all the way through Europe because my parents wouldn't give me any money. And then I came back to England, and my parents supported me because then I thought I'll be an actress. I had no talent, but I ran out of mescaline, so I needed to do something. Is this illegal? Am I going to be pulled off the show?
No, you're in the heart of Amsterdam.
But I was good at selling Girl Scout cookies, so I used the same talent.
Did your parents know about this?
No, are you kidding? No. But they wondered how I was going through Europe. Anyway, it's over.
You told your kids they know about this?
No, they do not.
Yeah.
And they never read this book, so
just saying, it's all in the
book. They'd be mortified.
No, they don't know anything?
No.
No.
Now
Okay.
they will.
We have little clips, little interviews of people who know you, or, as in this case, who fooled you, a Dutch woman who knows you well. Let's have a look.
I'm really nervous because I'm having an interview with the best journalist of the world. Well, maybe second.
Hello, Ruby. This is Wendy. Do you remember me? Hello, this is Ushi Hirosaki from Tokyo Broadcasting.
When was the first time you touched your flower?
Ik dacht, Ruby heeft mij gewoon meteen door.
When and how was your first kissing experience?
My first kissing experience?
Yes.
I used to fantasize that I was, kissing people, but it was my pillow. And then we would turn to each other.
With the tongue?
No tongues. I didn't know about tongues. And I would kiss the pillow.
Oh, the kiss.
Dat was natuurlijk heel grappig. Ze kan natuurlijk zelf hele brutale, impertinente vragen stellen. Maar op het moment dat ik die stelde, was het toch echt wel ook geschokt.
Do you want a lick from me first, or you want a lick from her first? Yes?
Nee.
Yes, we did the licking. We did the licking.
Yeah, you did.
You want to know how many more questions?
Yeah.
Yes. 3, 40, 20, 100. These are extras. So probably 120 questions, but with some extras. I can leave it out.
Ze was zo onwaarschijnlijk complimenteus op het eind, dat zal ik nooit vergeten.
That is unbelievable. Oh my God, that's very good. You know, I almost hate you because you're that talented.
Oh, thank you.
I almost hate you. That's pretty good. That just topped anything I ever did. Yeah, she was amazing. Is she still around? Is she still working?
She is one of the presenters, you know the show as well, of The Voice in the Netherlands.
Oh, really?
You got it on the BBC as well.
She's a genius, this girl. Because I was I couldn't get it. I couldn't understand. I knew she was being funny, but I thought she was Japanese.
Right.
And I didn't know they had a sense of humor.
Okay, questions here.
Hi, Ruby.
Hi.
You've done many interviews with many different people, but you also had your show on Dutch television interviewing Dutch people. My question is, what's the biggest difference in interviewing Dutch people in comparison to other nationalities, if there is a difference?
Yeah, there is a difference because no one in this country...
NTR. Look out now.
Hallo, hallo. Goedenavond en welkom bij College Tours. Ze is met stip de grappigste vrouw ter wereld. Stand-up comedian. En voor dat BBC-televisieprogramma interviewde ze de grote der aarde. Donald Trump, Pamela Anderson en Madonna. En daarna schreef ze ook nog mee aan wat ik een van de leukste televisieseries ter wereld vind. Absolutely Fabulous. Maar naast alle roem viel ze ook ten prooi aan depressies. En die bestreed ze niet alleen met medicijnen, maar ze werd op latere leeftijd ook nog student aan de Universiteit van Oxford. Speciaal voor College Tour is ze overgekomen uit Engeland. En ik interviewde hier met 200 studenten aan de Theateracademie in Amsterdam. Ruby Wax!
Okay, now I'm going to kill myself. Okay, here we go. We'll be in the dressing room. Here's the makeup room. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Take a seat.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello. Is pretentious. No one is arrogant. You know, they just, whoever they are, I've never seen a moment of narcissism. So, you know, that's a miracle. But maybe they know it's Holland and nobody's going to see it. I mean, I don't... No, but, you know, every single person was unbelievable.
When did you find out? You said, I tried to be an actor, but I didn't have the talent. When did you find out that you were funny?
Oh, I knew I was funny, but I didn't have any talent at all. I really didn't. I tried out for Hello Dolly in high school, and there were most of my school got in, 4,000 people, and I was in the audience. I was bad. And then I came to England, and I auditioned for Radha 6 times, doing Juliet, which was hideous. There's a moment in the speech where she threatens to bang out her brains with Tybalt's bone. Alack, alack, is it not that I, with loathsome breath and shrieks like mandrake... That was my audition, and people were like that. So I thought, I didn't know it was a metaphor about Tybalt's bone, so I bought a big turkey leg and hit it on my head. And there was a silence. And I said, are you sure you didn't call my name for a callback? And they went, we're sure. Yeah, we're sure.
So how did you get in?
I didn't get in.
Well, you did go to the Shakespeare Company.
Eventually, I got into the Shakespeare Company, Royal Shakespeare Company, but that was many years later.
Well, what happened? What did you do in the meantime to get good?
I did exercises with my tongue. I went to Glasgow, which wasn't hard to get into. Nobody wanted to go there. It was like an ashtray with stoplights. That's what Glasgow was like. So I did ta-ta-ta-la.